I wanted to sit down and make a video for you today about a topic that has been on my mind because it is one of the most difficult parts of homeschooling. And when I talk to other parents who are thinking of maybe homeschooling, this is the one thing that oftentimes scares them away. And that is, how do we maintain discipline in our homeschool? But I have some tips and tricks for you in this video that I think will make it so much easier. Maybe not totally easy, but definitely feasible and can help your homeschool be happy and successful. The technique that I want to talk about today is called Love and Logic. Now, this comes from a series of books that I was introduced to when my kids were younger, and we have found it to be very effective, and it has a few main points to it that I want to go over today. The first thing to keep in mind when using the Love and Logic technique is to restrain your emotions. And this can be hard, so hard, and it's definitely not always even possible. But we want to try as much as possible not to let ourselves get angry with our kids. And this is so true in homeschool, especially if we're unschooling or doing some philosophy, and any philosophy really of homeschool should include fostering a love of learning for our kids, which they are not going to love learning if they're getting yelled at or criticized or nagged about their schoolwork. It just doesn't lead to love if we're using anger with our school and learning. So this includes the words that we choose when we're talking to our kids, as well as our tone of voice. It's interesting because even if we're complimenting our kids or trying to give them praise, but we're still on edge or upset with them, they really can tell. Kids are smart and they just have this sense of when their parents are angry. And I know it's happened to me where I'm trying to say something nice, but I'm upset and it doesn't work. My kids don't feel praised, they don't feel love. So, hey, it happens to us all, and really sometimes it's just a matter of counting to 10 or to 100, going off to a quiet place and taking the time that we need to calm down, bring ourselves to a better place, remind ourselves of how much we love our kids, and as important as school and learning are, our kids are more important, as well as our relationships with them. In fact, one benefit to using the Love and Logic technique that many parents report, even though they're worried that doing this technique is going to be super stressful because how do we discipline our kids if we're not allowed to be angry or upset with them, is that they find that they are less stressed out. It teaches us that no matter what our kids do, even if it's not okay and it needs to be addressed, we don't have to get angry, which is so liberating. Yes, we can still discipline our kids. Yes, we still teach them proper behavior, but we don't have to feel mad. And this can be a great relief as a parent. To go along with restraining our emotions, we also want to think about how our child is feeling, which we call empathy. And empathy is really important because that can help us restrain our emotions, and it brings us to a better place, a place of love towards our children. Kids, they fight over who's going to use the crayons, over who's going to sit by mom, over who got to the biggest cookie. The list goes on, and I know you know this, you're a parent. So it can be frustrating because to us these things are so trivial. But if we can imagine how our child feels and remember that as children, these seemingly small things are very important to them, it helps us have more patience with what they're dealing with and come to a better solution without using anger. This Love and Logic technique, I find, does make a difference over time. And my kids have learned to go be on their own and calm down because they see me have to do that all the time, and to use kind words to each other and resolve things without anger. And it does not happen every time, but they are learning these patterns And hopefully with consistency, as they mature and gain some emotional maturity and control over themselves, they will be able to use these techniques better in the future. Another way we handle discipline in homeschool using love and logic is to offer choices. And this is very effective, and I love it because it helps us share control with our kids. And kids really need that. They want to feel like they have some control over their lives. But as young children, they do not have very much control. We decide what they eat, what they wear, how they spend their time, when it's time to go, where we're going to go. And that can be frustrating, right, Khalees?
Yeah.
It's hard to be a kid and have someone tell you what to do all the time. We can imagine as adults how that would feel, and we would not like it. So one way to counteract this problem is to give kids choices, and that lets them have some control over their lives. For example, if we're playing at the park and I know it's getting close to time to go, I might say, okay kids, do you want to leave right now, or do you want to play for 10 minutes and then leave? Okay, so both of those choices were things that I was okay with, and they were not punishment, and I wasn't stating it as a threat, right?
Right.
The kids are happy because, of course, they're going to choose playing for 10 more minutes, and they're fine with that because they get 10 extra minutes at the park. And I'm happy because I know that in 10 minutes we get to leave, because that was part of their choice, where I say, okay guys, you picked 10 more minutes and then leave, so it's time to go. They may not be totally happy with it, but they're usually cooperative because that was their choice and they realize that. So again, when we're offering choices, we want to make sure that it's two choices that are acceptable to the parents. I wouldn't want to say, okay, do you want to leave in 5 minutes, or do you want to stay here for the night and sleep here? Okay, unless I'm really okay with that as a choice, I'm not going to offer that as a choice to my kids. They'll soon learn that you can't be trusted as a parent, which is sad. We don't want that. The other thing to remember is that neither choice should be a punishment. We're not threatening our kids. I could certainly say, do you want to walk on your own 2 feet, or would you like for me to carry you to the car? Okay, so with those two choices, if the child's resisting, then I might say, all right, you are not walking with your feet, so I'm assuming your choice is that I'm going to carry you now, and I would go gently pick them up and carry them to the car, unless they're too big to be carried. And then we've got other problems, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Well, I guess that leads us on to the next section, which is having consequences for misbehavior. And this one is tricky because it does need to be handled carefully. We don't want to be dealing out punishments in the heat of the moment. One good way to handle this is that when times are calm and there's no misbehavior going on, to approach your child and address them, let them know you've noticed some behaviors going on that are not okay, inform them that there will be consequences, and let them know what the consequences will be, so it's not a surprise later. One thing you can do is to have it written out, have your child sign it so that you can point back to it in the future when you have to pull out that contract because of the misbehavior happening. Or if the child is too young to be able to read, you can have them repeat a few times what the consequence is when they do the bad behavior that we're trying to avoid. And with the love and logic technique, the important part of this is that we do always follow through with the consequences. We don't want to be giving second and third and fourth chances, because our kids soon learn and expect that in life they will get these multiple chances. And that's not how it works a lot of times. You get pulled over and you get a ticket. You don't get to tell the officer every time, oh, please give me another chance, I won't do it again. That doesn't work in real life. So we want our children to learn from a young age that They know what the consequences are, and they should expect them to be followed through with if they don't behave properly. The final topic I want to bring up is how to use love and logic when it comes to helping kids specifically with schoolwork. There are a few things here to make note of. One is that we only help our kids when they ask for it. And I have some really good helpers in my house. They love to help each other, and a lot of times it is when help is not wanted, and it always leads to arguments. And so we hear this a lot, is you can help someone if they want the help, right?
Right.
Okay. And then we can help them. So as adults, we have this problem too, don't we? That we see a kid struggling, we want to rush over and come to the rescue. But honestly, letting kids struggle through schoolwork is not going to harm them. They will figure things out, but they might not do it in the way that we would expect or that we would do ourselves. But that's okay, because the learning process is what is the important part. And if we do it for them, then we're cheating them out of that experience and out of that learning. The second point to bring up is that we should be focusing on what our children do well and not on criticizing them for things they need to do better. So this is just overall helps anybody with anything in life, is hearing praise can be so much more beneficial than being nagged about things that we need to do better. So we can trust that our children will learn to perform these tasks correctly and not nag at them until they hate learning because they feel like it's a time when they're going to be criticized all the time. Point number 3 is to walk away before it becomes an argument. If we are trying to help our kids and they're not figuring it out, or if they're resisting the way that we're trying to get them to work through their schoolwork, then we can say something like, look, I know you'll figure this out. It's not worth it to me to fight with you over it. I love you too much to let this become a fight. And then walk away. And if they really want our help, they might be a little humbled and come back later and ask for help, or maybe they will figure it out on their own. But it's not worth bringing the anger into it, because again, that takes away from the love of learning that we want our kids to have. And finally, point number 4 with using love and logic with schoolwork is to only help if your child is doing most of the work. This is a principle that I was taught when I was in secondary education classes in the university, that the person doing the work is the person doing the learning. So if we realize that we've taken over the effort with the schoolwork, then we should back off and make sure that our kids are the ones putting the work into it, because that is what will help them learn. So overall, with the Love and Logic program, we have used it. We have seen great success with it. I recommend you order the book if you're interested and read it yourself. There are many more details and stories and examples that will help it easier for you to implement these techniques in your home if you choose to do so. I expect that anyone watching this will adjust the techniques that will work for their family. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that this has given you some ideas and some hope in dealing with discipline in your homeschool. Please like, subscribe to my channel so you get notified about new videos that I post, and share this with your friends who you think this might help. Have a good one. You ready?
Yeah. Let me instruct you, okay?
Okay. Hold on. Pudding or something. With the pudding? That's a good pudding.
Yeah.
A little bit sticking on your chin. All right.
Hi, everybody. So this is Mama. Remember this focus.
Thank you.
Next up.
Yep. The technique for disciplining that I want to talk about today is called Love and Logic. Now this, yes, Love and Logic. I need you to scoot away from it. You can't be over there, even though it seems
That's
like
Mama.
because the technique teaches us that it doesn't matter what our kids do, that helps us have more patience with what they're dealing with.
Ooh, camera. Good job, Mom.
Thanks.
I love the batteries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Come on, let's pick two.